भर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं, रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
Hi, I am Captain Ihsan Khalid, a retired veteran Indian Air Force pilot, commercial pilot, and I have flown aircraft, trained people for last maybe 40 years. This is one of the very sad event on which I will be shedding lights as per what I think is correct to do.
This is your space, play it your way.
MDH की देगी मीरज,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मीरज। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
दीपक अपनी बेटी को क्यों मारा? दीपक का जेल जा रहे हैं, क्यों मारा अपने बेटी को? दीपक क्या क्यों मारा? दीपक क्यों मारा? दीपक राधिका को क्यों मारा? दीपक राधिका को क्यों मारा आपने?
A heartbreaking tragedy has shocked India. 25-year-old Radhika Yadav was allegedly shot dead by her father, Deepak Yadav, inside their family home. Radhika, a young woman, ran a tennis academy and even took part in music videos. Everyone knew her as a hard-working athlete who was always seen with her dad, Deepak, cheering her on at matches. A friend from the tennis court said, "I knew Radhika for 2 years. She was quiet but strong. Her dad was always there, supporting her every game."
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the Monday edition of This Is Exclusive with me, Shavin Sen. Ladies and gentlemen, an attempt that has been made over the last few hours after the preliminary reporter came in of perhaps focusing on whether at all there was an error on the part of the pilots. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, a detailed Republic investigation which reveals that a lot hasn't been done. Those at fault, Indian regulators, what have they really been doing all this while? Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we come with a full set of documents, fresh documents that raises more questions, answers not yet coming in from the DGCA or even from the airline. All this and much more on this edition of This Is Exclusive. But up first, let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking at this hour. DGCA in big controversy after Republic query wakes up after 8 years, issues notice on FAA directive. Republic has accessed a critical document trail dated right back to 2018. Republic fired specific questions to the DGCA, hours later belated action, that story breaking big. Massive controversy whips up on the aspect of whether DGCA sat on critical information of the Boeing aircraft. The big document is only with Republic. Air India sources have stated that fuel switch checks are happening only now post-crash. Breaking that big story and all the live and breaking inputs only on This Is Exclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, it is just not limited to an advisory that was issued 8 years ago by the FAA. There is more embarrassment lined up for our regulators in this country. Republic has now accessed a Civil Aviation Authority notice from the UK on mandatory actions that Boeing aircraft must take on the fuel shutoff valve. The document mentions that the FAA has issued an airworthiness directive addressing a potential unsafe condition affecting fuel shutoff valves installed on the Boeing 787 aircraft. In terms of required action, the notice in fact mentions that the Boeing 787 fleet must inspect, replace and test the fuel shutoff valves. What I'm holding right now on my hand is this particular safety advisory that was issued back in 15th May 2025. And let me read this out for all our viewers who are tuning in right now. So it's no longer just the FAA, but just days before this report actually came in, there was, before the crash in fact, the Civil Aviation Authority in the United Kingdom had basically said that the operators of Boeing B737, 757, 767, 777 and 787 should immediately make themselves aware of the relevant AD and establish whether it affects any of their aircraft. Now, what's the AD that we are basically referring to? It's the airworthiness directive of the FAA. In fact, it requires a test or an inspection on the fuel shutoff valve actuators on the 787, which require replacement, test, inspection. Three key words: replacement, test or inspection, which means that the fuel switch that we are essentially talking about, which the FAA had referred to, and the fuel control switch, according to the FAA, has a locking feature to prevent inadvertent operation that could result in unintended switch movement between the fuel supply and the fuel cutoff positions. Now, in order to move the switch from one position to the other under the condition where the locking feature is engaged, it is necessary for the pilot to lift the switch up while transitioning the switch position. If the locking feature is disengaged, the switch can be moved between the two positions without lifting the switch during the transition, and the switch would be exposed to the potential of inadvertent operation. Elaborating this, the FAA then had said that inadvertent operation of the switch could result in an unintended consequence, such as an in-flight engine shutdown. Now, it is as explicit as it can get. 2018, an advisory is issued. Then in 2025, UK basically is now asking all the airlines to look into a proper inspection to be carried out, asking all the airlines to do daily checks. In fact, this is what they say. The breaking news is this, that UK had basically asked all the airline carriers to carry out daily checks to be performed. Operators have an option for this to be accomplished by either engineering or by the flight crew. So here you have UK calling in for daily checks to be carried out. And the DGCA in India has never woken up. A 2018 advisory to which there is no follow-up. 2025 advisory that has been issued by the United Kingdom, the DGCA does not find it extremely relevant to even look into it. So much so, it has actually taken a 15 questions that have been issued by Republic TV, following which the DGCA finally has responded. Let me now take you through some of the details that we have with us right now. And what is this fuel switch controversy? Ladies and gentlemen, the AAIB in its preliminary report essentially makes a mention of the fuel switch controversy. But before I take you through that, let me take you through some of the details that we have as far as this advisory goes. It's back in May 2025, UK advisory makes a mention of the FAA airworthiness directive. It specifically talks about the fuel switch control system. I'm going to explain that in a short while from now. Directive addressed potential unsafe condition of the fuel shutoff valves. Let me stay with this and tell you this. All this while, multiple media networks, particularly the Western media, went on telling you that there is a possibility that there could be a pilot error. The fact that you cannot perhaps lift the switch up and down. But the reality is also this, that there is a mechanism which is actually embedded, and if at all there is a problem with that mechanism, there is a high possibility that mistakes could happen in this particular switch itself, and that is the reason why the FAA had flagged it back in 2018. Let's move on. Required action, this is what they said. What is it that the airline carriers should be doing? In fact, UK said that you do have to do it on a daily basis. They said replace, test, inspect fuel shutoff valves on the B787. This is the Dreamliner. In fact, Air India also operates this, and on the 12th of June, it was the B787 that was actually used. It's the fuel switch control system that we have essentially been talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the UK advisory that was issued on 15th of May 2025. Let's just take you through the last important details that are basically coming in as far as the UK advisory is concerned. Let's now take you through the FAA directive that was issued back in 2018. And what is it that they had to say, because they were very, very clear as far as the switch control system is concerned. So it's not just about this report from 2 months before the fatal crash. 7 years ago, in December 2018, the FAA had issued a special airworthiness information bulletin on the locking feature of the fuel safety valves. The report explains the following. The fuel control switch has a locking feature to prevent any inadvertent operation that could result in an unintended switch movement between the fuel supply and the fuel cutoff positions. Now, in order to move the switch from one position to the other, under the condition where the locking feature is engaged, it is necessary for the pilot to lift the switch up while transitioning. If the locking feature is disengaged, the switch can be moved between the two positions without lifting during the transition, which would result in inadvertent operations. This would in turn lead to an unintended consequence such as an in-flight engine shutdown. So it's the 2018 FAA report that we're basically talking about. So UK comes up with this. In fact, the Europeans had also put out an advisory, but that was back in 2015, which finds a mention in this. 2018 FAA report clearly stated that there is a possibility of an unintended switch movement. What does that mean? That even if the pilots continue with their operation, it could be an unintended switch movement. We do not know what leads to that unintended switch movement, but there is a possibility of that actually taking place. Let's move on. Fuel control switch has a locking feature to avoid the inadvertent operation. So I'm going to, in a short while from now, tell you how exactly the system basically works. And importantly, this is what the FAA said, that there is a possibility it can be an inadvertent move. Fuel control switch has a locking feature, and that locking feature can be, perhaps there could be some technical glitch due to which there could be a transition from run to cut off. That's what the AIB report says. Let's move on. In fact, inadvertent operations could lead to unintended switch movement, and that's exactly what we are referring to. And the other, with regards to the operations itself. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the 2018 report that came in. Engaged lock feature would require pilot to manually lift the switch. Now, if there is a problem with the lock feature itself, then it leaves the pilots extremely vulnerable. Disengaged lock feature and subsequent movement could lead to inadvertent operation. So we are emphasizing on the fact that it could be completely inadvertent. And was this the case? We do not know. That requires more investigation. Inadvertent operation could consequence in-flight engine shutdown. Did that really happen as far as the AI-171 is concerned? Because if you really look at the entire timeline that has been put out, there is a possibility of this could actually have happened with the Air India flight. FAA had recommended B787 to inspect locking feature, and this wasn't mandatory, and it was incumbent on the DGCA to have to look into. But whether at all DGCA did that or not, we're going to tell you in a short while from now. Switch movement without lifting equals to lock disengagement. That's all that we have with regards to the 2018 directive. So what really happens thereafter with regards to this entire aspect? 2018 a directive is actually made, and thereafter there is nothing that the DGCA has essentially done. Can we also go across to Harsha, who's joining us from outside the DGCA, and Dr. Vandana is going to join us on this broadcast, taking us through the details coming in. Dr. Vandana, I want to first come to you. All this while, there wasn't enough documentation on this entire issue. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we are putting out two advisories. One which was issued back in 2018. This is the FAA advisory, and this we are making public right now. It is the 15th May UK advisory that was issued. Both of them refer to the fuel locking system, the switch system itself. And if I am to quote both of them, they're clearly making a mention that there could be an inadvertent transitioning. Can that really be ruled out?
Firstly, thank you for having me on your show. I'm in a vehicle, so I hope you can read me strength 5. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Dr. Vandana. You can.
Okay. Thank you. So, yes, very much this is possible, and I've been saying it right from the beginning, that these were faulty switches, that these had to be looked into. There was a mandate, there was an advisory in 2018 that you're talking about. You're also talking about the mandatory daily check advisory that came out from UK. So I do firmly believe that the transition happened due to electronic software glitch of the FedEx that I mentioned right on June 12th when the accident happened. But then the investigation is going into very deep probe right now, and I'm sure more facts will come out. But to answer your question, is this possible that it can just transition from run to cutoff if the switches are faulty? The answer is yes. If there is a snag, the answer is yes. This is happening because behind the manual is the electrical software FedEx that's working. So that's all.
Dr. Vandana, we seem to be having some problem with your audio. We're just going to try and fix that. We'll try and fix that till the time. I'll just quickly go across to our aviation correspondent joining us from outside the DGCA till the time we fix Dr. Vandana's audio. Harsha, with regards to the advisories, it's very clear that the DGCA, starting from 2018, never actually issued any sort of directive to the airline operators. And Dr. Vandana was also pointing out that, yes, there is a possibility of an inadvertent switch transitioning taking place. So what was happening all this while? What was the DGCA really doing? Because the airlines today, they are going to simply come up by saying this, that we did not have any advisory coming in from our own regulator.
So, Shawan, there is few information which I have got my hands on since I'm in DGCA right now. And there's some information which is very important for viewers also to know. 2018, FAA and SAIB, both the bodies issued a notice for the 787 Boeing for airline operators. In our country, Air India is the airline which has the Boeing, maximum number of Boeings. In 2018, the DG of DGCA was Mr. Arun Kumar. After that, in 2022, he went and became the chairman of RERA in Haryana. And to tell you, in 2022, the same year when Tata took over Air India, in that year, DG Arun Kumar's son was employed in Air India. Right now, he is in Air India. He is in the legal department. So the bigger question here is that the interest we are talking between DGCA and Air India, why never ever action has been taken against Air India? Why never ever DGCA has pulled up Air India? The last meeting which the DG of DGCA had with Campbell Wilson, not any such point of switch was taken by him. He didn't question even him. So we really know know that the DGCA has never ever pulled up Air India, and right now we have the document. We have the document which we have of FAA 2018, SAIB 2018. There's a document FAA reminding again in 2020 about the check-ins of the fuel switch off, which automatically shuts off, and that is the reason United Kingdom in the month May 2025 gave a notice to all its airline operators. The civil aviation body gave the notice to all its airline operator that the Boeing which are operating in our country, 737, 777 fleet and 787, all these Boeings have the same switch component. The switch spar valve in all these Boeing is of same processor, the same company, so the inspection has to be done, and if it is found faulty, it has to be changed. But Air India has gone through that directive of notice of UK, but Air India didn't do anything. No inspection and check was done. In fact, DGCA also was sleeping on that advisory of United Kingdom. DGCA was aware that these directives are being issued, but not the regulatory body took any action against Air India. Back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Harsha, for getting us the latest details. I'll just quickly go back to Dr. Vandana, because Dr. Vandana has extensively worked on this, and she has a better understanding of what this fuel switch locking system is concerned. Dr. Vandana, if I can ask you a quick question with regards to whether at all there is any possibility of a technical glitch related to the locking feature of the fuel switch system, because all this while everyone was arguing that, look here, this is not like your home bathroom switch that you can just perhaps lift it up and down, and that is the reason why they're saying that perhaps this could have been because of some sort of a pilot error. But the reality is this, that it does exist. According to the FAA and the advisory that we have got from the UK, both of them are saying that there is a high possibility of this kind of a technical glitch, leaving the pilots extremely vulnerable.
So there are two sides of it, and both sides are actually correct. What you're saying, what the advisory is saying, is absolutely right. And that is why the word transition has been used in the AAIB report. The fact is that it just transitioned. And please understand that in 1 second, both engines transitioning, both the switches is transitioning from the run to cutoff is impossible. And that is what the pilots were also explaining, that even if they had to do this at maximum speed, it's a manual operation. If they had to do it at their own maximum speed, then it would take them minimum 4 to 5 seconds, because they have to lift the lever up, there are springs surrounding it, and they have to bring it back. But in case of a already disengaged, or what you call a faulty switch system, which has a snag, then it's very much possible, because there is an electronic software controlling it, that it can just transition. And that is why Pilot 1 is asking Pilot 2, did you do it? And he's saying, I didn't, because the fact is they didn't. Nobody does something to this till they are at least at 400 feet. This is known. This is a known fact. Nobody even looks over there. So the surprising thing is that it has happened. It is a malfunction. It is 100% malfunction, electronic software glitch that we call, that has led to this shut off of the engine. So very much possible. Over to you.
Very much, Dr. Vandana, for getting us the latest details. In fact, what is this controversy all about? The fuel switch controversy that we have been talking about, and how complicated is this entire issue? We're going to quickly take you through some of the pictures that we've got from the probe report, and how exactly does this really work. In fact, what you're seeing right now, this is part of the fuel switch control system. Now, this is the throttle levers that are basically used, and these two buttons that you essentially look at, this is the fuel control system, the run and cutoff. These are the two options that are available. When it is in the run mode, it essentially means that the engines are essentially being supplied with the fuel. When it is in the cutoff mode, it is essentially that there is no fuel going to the engines. Now, it isn't that simple. It is not like you could perhaps push this up and down without doing certain activities, certain steps that have to be followed. You ought to pull this up and pull it up. That is how it works. And then you go down. Now, which again, that is the reason why most were basically indicating that can this be actually accidental or not. It turns out that this regulates this entire this fuel flow to the aircraft engines. Now, these are the two modes that we're talking about. Can we just quickly move on with some of the details that we have? As far as this system is concerned, used to shut down engines on the ground in flight. So that's mostly used when it is taking off and once it has come to a complete halt. It's a key safety tool in case of there is some sort of an engine failure. So there is a possibility to relight. You could have rebooted, and perhaps that could have also been one thing that the pilots may have done. Located below thrust levers on Boeing 787. But remember, this very mechanism is something that once again the FAA as well as the UK advisories were essentially talking about. It is spring-loaded, cannot be moved accidentally, and that is the reason why they're saying that there is a locking feature. That locking feature prevents that kind of an accidental movement. But that locking feature has now become the bone of contention. And that is the reason why perhaps there have been a lot that is now being questioned. Now let's take a look at what the DGCA has essentially done. On your screens right now, these were questions that we had sent to the DGCA around 12:30 this afternoon. Did Air India receive any specific directives from the DGCA as far as other airlines are also concerned? Did Air India conduct suo motu follow-up to inspect or address this known risk? Did Air India receive corresponding guidance from the DGCA to implement the directives? These were some of the questions that we have basically asked. Can Air India confirm it performed mandated daily checks? Now, these are questions that we had basically sent to Air India. Similarly, around 12:30 this afternoon, we had also sent questions to the DGCA. It was 15 questions that we have essentially asked to the DGCA. And now I'm going to just put this out. Now, some of it is with regards to the UK advisory. Question number one that we asked the DGCA was that were they really aware of this kind of a directive that was actually issued by the UK safety advisory. The second question we asked that why did the DGCA not mandate inspections, corrective actions for Indian operators following the 2018 FAA guidelines which highlighted potential disengagement. Question number three we had asked, Air India had also issued certain engineering instruction just 5 days before the AIB's preliminary report, but Air India says that that has got nothing to do with the B787, it has got more to do with the B777 fleet. Was the DGCA basically informed about this? Did the DGCA direct Air India or other Indian operators to investigate or modify the fuel control systems? What are the steps that have essentially been taken? Interestingly, while there has been no direct response from them, 5:30 this evening is when you have the DGCA finally waking up. And lo and behold, what happens is this. They are admitting that this is the 2018 directive which they want now the Indian airline carriers to follow. In fact, they have now given time till about the 21st of July to all Indian carriers to carry out an inspection as far as this very locking feature is concerned. On your screens right now, this is the directive that the DGCA issued around 5:30 this evening. Just a few hours after Republic sent 15 questions asking them that what were you doing for the last 8 years since the time the directive was actually issued by the FAA, and of course thereafter followed up by the UK advisory. Ladies and gentlemen, the preliminary report by the AAIB does not answer many questions. In fact, it has triggered several questions with regards to how the airline carriers have been operating and the manufacturers. Tonight, as we have put out full details of multiple advisories that have been issued and no response really coming in from the Indian regulators. That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive.
The reason we've launched the Nationalist Collective is because we believe it is time now for a group of ideologically driven Indians to drive the destiny of our country. For far too long, people who have had interests inimical to national interest have held sway. We need to put nationalism first. nation first. The Nationalist Collective is a very clear and sharp movement, presents the spirit of a new India which stands by what is right, does what is right, and raises its voice for what is right. Remember, this country is safe only if it is in the hands of nationalists. This country will grow only if nation first becomes our principal motto, where the only ism that matters is nationalism. Join the Nationalist Collective. It is going to be the largest non-political movement in this country.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho Befikar.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, mass comm, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
Sarah, this is your space, lay it your way.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
Hi, I am Captain Ehsan Khalid, a retired veteran Indian Air Force pilot, commercial pilot, and I have flown aircraft, trained people for last maybe 40 years. This is one of the very sad event on which I will be shedding lights as per what I think is correct to do. The event that happened, that is the aircraft accident on 12th of June, there was an AIB report that came out on 11th of July or 12th morning 11 at 1 o'clock. That went on to give out a lot of 15-page information, and based upon that there was...
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
From your smartphones to your smart televisions, trending stories are breaking the internet. Only 17 hours to go for the return of Shubhanshu Shukla back to the Earth. Undocking has been done. Next is the much-awaited Earth splashdown. Up next, we'll show you how Donald Trump hijacked the Chelsea Trophy celebrations, leaving players completely baffled. Next, government has launched a food warning campaign. Watch out as your jalebi and samosa are now under the scanner. And finally, we will, in fact, you'll be shocked to see how Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister jumped over a wall and barricades to offer prayer. This is trending. I'm Akanksha Khajuria. Let's get started. Well, get ready for a historic homecoming. It's been over 15 days since Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla embarked on a groundbreaking journey to the International Space Station as India's first astronaut. The countdown to his return has officially started, and Shukla, along with his crew members, is all set to fly back to the Earth tomorrow. The XM4 crew was all smiles as they posed for a picture on the International Space Station. Watch this. The undocking process from the International Space Station was completed at 4:45 p.m. in the evening today, and all eyes are on the splashdown into the Pacific Ocean tomorrow.
2. Depart burn 1 complete and nominal. You are go to DOF suits per procedure 4.012.
Nominal departure in 4012 for Dragon.
And we just had confirmation there that that second departure burn, known as Depart Burn 1, has completed and it was executed as expected. The crew is now going to start doffing or removing their spacesuits and getting settled in for their 22.5-hour journey back to Earth, again with that splashdown targeted for tomorrow morning, July 15th, off the coast of California.
And in a farewell speech, Shukla addressed his fellow Indians in Hindi, reflecting on the significance of his mission. While his own journey in space may be coming to the end, he emphasized that India's human space mission is still in its early stages and has to go a long way.
कुछ शब्द मेरे देशवासियों के लिए हिंदी में। कमाल की यात्रा रही है ये मेरी, लेकिन अब जैसे मेरी ये यात्रा ख़त्म होने वाली है, आपकी और मेरी यात्रा अभी बहुत लंबी है। हमारी ह्यूमन स्पेस मिशन की जो यात्रा है वो बहुत लंबी है और बहुत कठिन भी है, लेकिन मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूँ कि अगर हम निश्चय कर लें तो तारा अभी प्राप्यन्ते, इवन स्टार्स आर अटेनेबल।
And in a nod to India's space legacy, Shukla repeated the iconic message of Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian in space, who famously said, "Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara," 41 years ago. Watch this.
स्क्वाड्रन लीडर राकेश शर्मा, सारे राष्ट्र का ध्यान आपके तरफ है और हम सब आपको बधाई देते हैं। यह एक ऐतिहासिक कदम है। मेरी आशा है कि इससे हमारा देश अंतरिक्ष के प्रति जागरूक होगा और साथ ही हमारे युवकों को साहसिक कार्य करने की प्रेरणा मिलेगी। प्रश्न तो आपसे बहुत से पूछने हैं, लेकिन थोड़े से पूछती हूँ, ऊपर से भारत कैसा दिखता है आपको?
जी, मैं बगैर किसी झिझक के कह सकता हूँ कि सारे जहां से अच्छा।
41 साल पहले कोई भारतीय अंतरिक्ष में गए थे और उन्होंने हमें बताया था कि ऊपर से भारत कैसा दिखता है, और कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता है कि हम सब ये जानना चाहते हैं कि आज भारत कैसा दिखता है। मैं आपको बताता हूँ, आज का भारत स्पेस से महत्वाकांक्षी दिखता है। आज का भारत निडर दिखता है। आज का भारत कॉन्फिडेंट दिखता है। आज का भारत गर्व से पूर्ण दिखता है। और इन्हीं सब कारणों की वजह से मैं एक बार फिर से कह सकता हूँ कि आज का भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है।
Now shifting our focus, Chelsea fans dipped themselves in blue after last night as Chelsea lifted FIFA trophy, defeating PSG in 2025. But scenes on the ground quickly became dramatic. Paris Saint-Germain manager appeared to knock Chelsea player to the floor as tension flared between the players from both the teams following Chelsea's 3-0 win. But it was Donald Trump who made headlines yet again for all the wrong reasons. In a rather awkward moment, Donald Trump remained at the stage even after giving the award and practically hijacked the entire celebration of the team. And the players' reaction to that quickly became the talk of the town as FIFA president had to step in and ask him to leave the stage.
Nah, I knew he was going to be here, but I didn't know he was going to be on the stand when we left the trophy, so I was a bit confused, yeah.
No, to be honest, it was quite loud. I couldn't hear too much. He just congratulated me and the team, for winning the trophy and to enjoy the moment.
Nah, I knew he was going to be here, but...
And the incident went viral on social media with people trolling him and calling him a diva who has to be the center of everything. A few reactions also showed Donald Trump celebrating like he was the player, he was the striker, the whole match. One user even mockingly quoted Donald Trump. Now it is safe to say that the internet was in splits and the world-class reaction are on your screens. Hot off the plate and straight to your screens, these are the top trending stories of the day. Let's watch them. Badminton stars Saina Nehwal and Parupalli Kashyap have officially separated after nearly 7 years of marriage. The couple who tied the knot in December 2018 confirmed the news via the mutual statement issued on social media. Both cited the need to choose peace and personal well-being as the reason for parting ways. They emphasized that the decision was made with mutual respect and understanding. Fans and sports peers have reacted with surprise and extended support. And Beyonce has officially retired the suspended red car after that mid-air malfunction that took place. And in the true cowboy CUTOFF fashion, she rode into Atlanta on a massive gold mechanical horse. The new moment takes place during the 16 carriages and is already being called one of the most iconic visuals of the tour so far. Have a look at the visuals on your screen. In a defiant move against the central government, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Umar Abdullah climbed a railing along with his cabinet ministers to visit the graveyard in Nauhata in Jammu and Kashmir and pay floral tributes. Now remember viewers, after Article 370's abrogation, the official holiday was removed. Several leaders from the ruling National Conference were put under house arrest in a bid to stop them from marking the Martyrs' Day today. And the Indian Army has inaugurated an open-air gym in Namsing village in Arunachal Pradesh aimed at promoting fitness among locals and troops alike. The move adds muscle to the community welfare efforts in the region. Villagers are now, in fact, getting a new space to pump iron right next to the mountains. And Mohammad Siraj has been fined 15% of his match fee by the ICC for the conclusion of the play confrontation with England's Ben Duckett during day 4 of the third test at the Lords. Siraj fiery shouting at Duckett's face and pushing him after taking his wicket was deemed as a breach of Article 2.5 of ICC Code, which prohibits such actions or such language. Also, South Korea is preparing to issue an order for the airlines to inspect fuel control switches on certain Boeing aircrafts. The move follows safety concern flagged by the recent US regulatory findings. Korean authorities are now working closely with Boeing and local carriers to assess the risk and ensure compliance as well. The inspections are expected to focus on models with previous maintenance issues. Airlines may face slight operational delays as checks are rolled out. And wildfires have swept through Syria's coastal region, forcing evacuation and destroying vast stretches of forest in the country. High temperatures and strong winds are fueling the flames, making firefighting efforts extremely, making it very difficult. Authorities have deployed helicopters and ground crews while appealing for international assistance as well. Several homes and farms have been damaged and the risk of further spread remains completely high. The UN is monitoring the crisis as emergency teams work round the clock. And veteran actor B. Saroj Devi has passed away following age-related illnesses. Saroj breathed her last at her residence in Malaveshram in Bangalore. She was 87, known as Abhinaya Saraswati. B. Saroj Devi made her silver screen debut in 1955 with the Kannada film Mahakavi Kalidasa. In the career spanning more than 7 decades, she appeared in over 200 movies across Telugu, Tamil, Kannada and Hindi cinema. And in a tragic moment on set, stunt artist Mohan Raj has died of a suspected heart attack during a car stunt gone wrong while shooting. Visuals of the mishap surfaced online, prompting an outpouring of the grief from the film industry. And Jannik Sinner stunned on centre court on Sunday, capturing his first Wimbledon title. The match featured the top 2 players in the world. Sinner's steady performance earned him his 4th Grand Slam win. Alcaraz had an early advantage, securing the first set with strong drop shots and the forehands. India's Health Ministry now wants samosas and jalebis to carry cigarette-style warning. The plan is aimed at raising awareness about rising obesity and lifestyle diseases linked to excessive oil and sugar in the food. AIIMS Nagpur is already preparing to roll out oil and sugar boards in cafeterias and public spaces. Basically, your favorite snacks are now public health enemies. Looks like biting into jalebi might soon come with a sight of guilt. Social media is in meltdown mode. Memes have taken over the internet. People have said first tobacco, now samosa. Somehow everyone is wondering, how did Pepsi and other fast food junks survive the purge but jalebi did not? Now joining us today is Dr. Vijay De Silva, a leading cardiologist. He's here to help us understand how to keep our hearts healthy and strong. Thanks so much for speaking to Republic TV. Now, our jalebis and samosas are under the scanner. Do you think this was need of the hour or something people will ignore, just like those labels on cigarette packets?
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for inviting me. Now, see, this approach of labeling it as harmful will not help. Because see, if you see the labeling on the tobacco and the cigarettes, they have not made anybody stop using it. So labeling is no deterrent. In fact, the solution should be in a better solution, in a simpler solution. Instead of labeling it, they should start educating the children at the school level, that kindergarten level, primary level, about the harms of having high sugar diet. And that itself will make a change. When these kids grow up, they will be empowered with the knowledge what is good, what is bad, rather than labeling a product as good or bad and everybody ignoring it. Say it has happened with alcohol, it has happened with tobacco, it has happened with cigarettes.
Absolutely, and many are saying that on one hand this is under the scanner, on the other Pepsi and other junk foods that a lot of Indians consume, they are still not under the scanner by the Indian government, but jalebi and samosas will now be labelled as a health hazard. So what do you have to say on this?
See, all the sweets, whether the Indian sweets or the foreign sweets or the chocolates or the ice creams, they are all harmful, equally harmful, and more so all types of sweetened drinks, carbonated sweetened drinks, they are harmful for the health of the people. They do harm the health by increasing the incidence of obesity, blood pressure, diabetes, fatty liver, cancer of the liver. It causes also early dementia, early aging. All these things are associated with any form of sugar, whether it is in the jalebi or it is in the Pepsi. All are equally harmful. Any form of sugar in any formulation is harmful.
Absolutely. It remains to be seen how this will be implemented. Thank you so much, Doctor, for speaking to Republic TV. Now, shifting our focus, talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, we now have a story of INS Nistar from her commissioning in 1971 as India's first submarine rescue vessel to her reincarnation as state-of-the-art platform. Nistar is a living legacy. Watch the story of Nistar then and now as I bid goodbye. Good night.
In the late 60s, when India had just begun building its submarine fleet, the need to address submarine rescue capabilities was felt. In 1969, Indian Navy leased an 800-ton Russian vessel and equipped it with a submarine rescue bell, thereby ushering in the much-needed capability to dry mate with the submarines and earning the adage of becoming a guardian of the deep. The Indian divers who underwent training on submarine rescue drills subsequently formed up the Nistar commissioning crew. December 1971, Indian Navy was pushed into an aggressive posture. On the night of 3rd December, the maritime realm echoed with the mystery of a submarine sinking off the coast of Visakhapatnam. Nistar, which was in dry dock, was required to sail immediately and was floated within 48 hours. On 5th December, Nistar was atop the wreckage site and her divers confirmed the presence of ill-fated Pakistan submarine Ghazi. The ship's brave divers accessed the Ghazi's conning tower, recovering critical documents that shifted the balance of intelligence in India's favor. As the war subsided, Nistar was shifted to Cochin, where she was instrumental in the training of clearance divers and became the mainstay for Indian Navy's diving operations. Finally, on 3rd of November 1989, Nistar was decommissioned after 2 decades of glorious service to Indian Navy.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जलजीरा मसाला।
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IAH.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
दीपक अपनी बेटी को क्यों मारा? दीपक का जेल जा रहे हैं, क्यों मारा अपने बेटी को? दीपक क्या करो मारा? दीपक क्यों मारा? दीपक राधिका को क्यों मारा? दीपक राधिका को क्यों मारा आपने?
A heartbreaking tragedy has shocked India. 25-year-old Radhika Yadav was allegedly shot dead by her father, Deepak Yadav, inside their family home. Radhika, a young woman, ran a tennis academy and even took part in music videos. Everyone knew her as a hard-working athlete who was always seen with her dad, Deepak, cheering her on at matches. A friend from the tennis court said, "I knew Radhika for 2 years. She was quiet but strong. Her dad was always there, supporting her every game. To many, they seemed like the usual close father-daughter team."
मतलब हमेशा जब खेलते थे हम लोग तो उसके फादर ही उसको लेके आते थे और लेके जाते थे एंड यूज्ड टू बी देयर ऑलमोस्ट एवरी टाइम. उनके साथ ट्रैवल करते थे. बहुत शांत स्वभाव के थे मेरे हिसाब से. तो he never used to talk. He used to be away from the pack, sitting minding his own business. Yeah.
Radhika also
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ. डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा. अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ. सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र.
MDH की देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का. MDH की देगी मिर्च.
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने.
MDH.
Hi, I am Captain Ihsan Khalid, a retired veteran Indian Air Force pilot, commercial pilot, and I have flown aircraft, trained people for last maybe 40 years. This is one of the very sad
DGCA in big controversy after Republic query. Wakes up after 8 years, issues notice on FAA directive. Republic has accessed a critical document trail dated right back to 2018. Republic fired specific questions to the DGCA. Hours later, belated action. That story breaking big. Massive controversy whips up on the aspect of whether the DGCA sat on critical information on the Boeing aircraft. The big document only with Republic. Air India sources have stated the fuel switch checks are happening only now, post-crash. Breaking that big story and all the live and breaking inputs up next.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ. डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा. अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ. सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल. ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े. क्या निराला MDH मसाला.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार. विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी.
Hi, this is Chef Ranveer Brar. Guarantee you brilliance on behalf of IAH.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध. MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा.
Sarah,
This is your space, play it your way.
दीपक अपनी बेटी को क्यों मारा? दीपक आज जेल जा रहे हैं, क्यों मारा अपने बेटी को? दीपक क्या करो मारा? दीपक क्यों मारा? दीपक राधिका को क्यों मारा? दीपक राधिका को क्यों मारा आपने?
A heartbreaking tragedy has shocked India. 25-year-old Radhika Yadav was allegedly shot dead by her father, Deepak Yadav, inside their family home. Radhika, a young woman, ran a tennis academy and even took part in music videos. Everyone knew her as a hard-working athlete who was always seen with her dad, Deepak, cheering her on at matches. A friend from the tennis court said, "I knew Radhika for 2 years. She was quiet but strong. Her dad was always there, supporting her every game. To many, they seemed like the usual close father-daughter team."
मतलब हमेशा जब खेलते थे हम लोग तो उसके फादर ही उसको लेके आते थे और लेके जाते थे एंड यूज्ड टू बी देयर ऑलमोस्ट एवरी टाइम. उनके साथ ट्रैवल करते थे. बहुत शांत स्वभाव के थे मेरे हिसाब से तो. ही नेवर यूज्ड टू टॉक. ही यूज्ड टू बी अवे फ्रॉम द पैक, sitting minding his own business.
Radhika also tried her hand at music videos. A co-actor who worked